What's going on, leaders? I'm so glad that you are joined in right now, that you're watching the video. If you don't know me, it's Carson. So glad I get to see you. I was about to say meet you, but you're on the other side of a screen. But I can join you and I can meet with you in the comments below. So leave a comment. I want to talk with you guys. If you're new to the channel, this is a community of people that desire to become the best version of themselves. And we do that by coming together as a community on this channel. So today, we are actually going to be doing a book review on a book that brought me so much value when I read it. It's this book right here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I believe that's how you say his last name, by Robert Kiyosaki. And again, this book brought me so much value. Today, I'm going to be talking about my three main takeaways, my favorite takeaways from the book, as well as my favorite line from the book. If you like this video, or if you like any of the content you see, any other videos that you watch, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when new content comes out. And don't forget to give me a follow on the IG at carsonholland.co. Let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So my very first takeaway from this book was actually all of chapter 1, ironically. The first chapter is actually called The Rich Don't Work for Money. And then the subsection says, the poor and the middle class work for money, and the rich have money work for them. Now, this was just out of my vocabulary entirely. It made absolutely no sense to me. The only thing I could think about was literally a dollar bill. And I was like, how in the world am I supposed to get a dollar bill to work for me? It just doesn't make any sense. It literally had no connection to my brain, because the only thing that I had been taught my entire life was go to school and then get a job and work and trade my hours in to get money, to work for money. It completely changed my way of thinking and the way that I thought about finance when I found out I can get money to work for me so that I don't have to work for it. I can do things that I enjoy and things that I love to do. And the thing that he talked about in that first chapter and in this first lesson is that really the reason that people work for money and they don't decide to get out of what he calls the rat race, where you just work all the time, work all the time, work all the time, trade hours for dollars. The reason a lot of people don't do that is because of fear, because they're actually scared to find out how money works for them. So the reason I like this lesson so much is all mainly because it changed the way that I thought about money. It made me recognize and realize that money can work for me, whereas I don't have to work for money my entire life. So that's the first lesson and the first takeaway I got. Now let's go on to the second. The second lesson that I loved in this book was chapter 5, or lesson 5. It says, the rich invent money. Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. Now, the reason that I think this lesson is so important, that the rich invent money, is because he tackles the issue about seeing money as real or not real. And he uses the example of working at a job, of course. A lot of people see money as this real thing, and a lot of times you can view it as that. It's a tangible piece of paper, it's a tangible coin, it's a tangible thing that you can see, you can feel, and if you really want, you can taste it, all of those things. But he talks about in this book that, or in this lesson rather, that if you view money as real, you'll work for it your whole life. But if you view it as something that's not real, or as something that doesn't have the value that you give it, well then you'll find out how to invent it faster. And that's the reason I like this chapter so much and this lesson so much, is because he gives you the practical ways, and I won't spoil them because I want you to go read this book and find out for yourself. But he talks about the ways that the rich invent money, and it's all through their financial education. I had never even heard of that term before I read this book, financial education. I just did whatever my mom did. I live with my mom and she's like, yo, do this. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever, it's cool, it's fine. But I learned that if I invest in my financial education and my financial intelligence, then I'll actually be able to invent money faster, better, and in more creative ways, so that I don't have to work for it my whole life. And instead of spending my time trying to figure out how can I work for more money, what other job can I get, I can spend my time hanging out with the friends that I love, or doing things with loved ones that I love to do with them. So that's the second thing, your financial education. The rich invent money. And that brings me to my third, last, and final, and one of my favorite lessons from this book. Now, the third lesson, and probably my favorite one from this book, other than my favorite quote, is this one. It's really lesson 6, chapter 6, but it's my third lesson, and it's work to learn, don't work for money. That also went against everything that I'd been taught. I was just taught to go and get a job, and I have a job right now. I'm not gonna lie, I have a job. I don't have a bunch of real estate yet. I don't have a bunch of ways to get rich at the moment, but I'm working to get there. But instead of working for money, I'm working to learn. And in fact, this is not my favorite quote from the book, but a quote from this chapter that I really believe shows the point of this lesson is what he talks about on page 189. And it says this, I'll just read it. The reason so many talented people, because there's so many talented people on the earth. The reason so many talented people are poor is because they focus on building a better hamburger and know little to nothing about business systems. And what he's saying is a lot of people, they go all into one thing. They go all in, they learn how to build a great hamburger if you work at McDonald's, whatever it may be for you. You're a great engineer, great doctor, but they don't work to learn new and better things. And essentially what he's talking about is investing in yourself. Now I'm gonna have a video on my channel soon that actually talks about how I read my books and how I grow, because the reason that lesson is so important to me is because essentially Robert talks about investing in yourself. Don't just work somewhere to get a couple dollars, because those dollars will be gone probably sooner than you could get your next paycheck. But rather, work to learn and invest in your own education, invest in yourself, because then more and better opportunities will come your way, because people will begin to see that you matter. People will begin to see that you know what you're talking about. So, the third lesson, invest in yourself, work to learn something valuable for your life. Now, time for my favorite quote from the whole book, which is actually found right at the beginning of the book in chapter 1. But it's amazing because, to give you some context, Robert, he had a rich dad and a poor dad. His rich dad was his best friend's father who taught him how to be rich. His poor dad was his blood father. He was a PhD kind of guy, had a job in an education system, and he just worked his whole life. And he ends up going to try to work with his rich dad, with his best friend, which is his rich dad's son. And they failed and they messed up, and he said this to them, and it just changed the way that I think. He said this: "My father was just leaving as I said that. Boys," he said, "you're only poor if you give up. The most important thing is that you did something. Most people only talk and dream about getting rich. You've done something. I'm very proud of the two of you. I'll say it again, keep going, don't quit." A lot of times people, they'll try to go down this road, they'll try to figure out how to, become rich or whatever it may be for you. Try to figure out how to do something great, how to learn something, and you fail at it and you give up. But the thing that dad was telling them was, just keep going, keep trying. A lot of people, they only dream. I bet there are so many people on the planet right now that have so many amazing dreams, but because they don't do anything, nothing comes to pass. Imagine how many Elon Musks are actually out there. Imagine how many Robert Kiyosaki's are actually out there. Imagine how many, whoever it may be, successful person that you look up to, imagine how many of them are actually out there, but they don't do anything. Or maybe they tried it and they failed once and they gave up. I want to encourage you. This is a community of people that want to become the best version of themselves. So in order to do that, keep going, keep trying, try harder, try again, learn something new about the same thing you're trying to do. Don't let your dreams fall apart and go to waste because you maybe tried once and you failed. Keep pushing and keep going, keep hustling and keep growing. Now, if you like any of the content from this video, if you like any of the content, any of the videos you see, and you want to become part of the community, hit the subscribe button. It's super easy, just one click, one button. Hit the subscribe button. If you want to be notified when new content comes out, hit the notification bell. And if you want to communicate with me a little bit more, directly, or if you want to see some other posts throughout the week, go check out my Instagram at carsonholland.co. I really want to make this the best community on YouTube, so let's make it happen. Join the family, and I'll see you guys in the next video.